Okay. And can we see the notes?
Yep.
Okay, so cool. I'm actually super bummed out that we are not in person to do this because this is my absolute favorite lesson of the whole year. So today we're going to get into the quadratic formula, which I feel like I've been hyping up the quadratic formula for the entire year. So before I get into the quadratic formula, I just want to remind us what it's like to do stuff without the quadratic formula. So this is one that we already know how to do. If I try to solve this one by pseudographing, this one's irritating to do because of that leading coefficient there. So I'm just going to start this one off by dividing the entire thing by 2, giving me x squared minus 5x minus 21 divided by 2 is 10.5 is equal to 0. Now we remember that when I do this, I want to start off by finding the axis of symmetry, which is x equals negative b over 2a. So that would be positive 5 over 2 times 1. So the axis of symmetry is at 2.5. Drawing in my fake little picture here, I know that this right here, there's my axis of symmetry at 2.5. And now I want to find this dot right here. There's some horizontal distance and a vertical distance. In order for me to find the vertical distance, I need to know where the vertex is. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in 2.5. So I have 2.5 squared minus, 5 times 2.5 minus 10.5 is equal to, now I need to find that answer. Okay, now Miss Cheney showed me a trick, and I want to see if it works here. If I just type that in, 2.5 to the second power minus 5 times 2.5 minus 10.5 equals, oh, she lied to me. I'm going to try one more time. 2.5 times 2.5 equals, maybe I have to put these symbols in here. Equal to, there we go, 16.5. Negative 16.5. So that means that I have to go up right here. This vertical distance is 16.5. And we remember that the horizontal distance is the square root of the vertical distance. So h is equal to the square root of 16.5. So let's see if Miss Cheney's trick works here. SQRT 16.5 is equal to, hey, that worked.
But not a fun number.
Not a fun number, but for today we'll say 4.062. So now I know that my two answers are right here and right here. So that means that this is going to be 2.5 plus 4.062. And this one's going to be 2.5 minus 4.062. So I can just type that into my cheater thing right here. 2.5 minus 4.062 is equal to 1.562. And 2.5 plus 4.062 is equal to 6.562. So my answer to this equation is x is equal to negative 1.562 or 6.562 squigglies. Okay, now this is solving by pseudographing. We've done this before. Nothing special here.
Wait, Mr. Seo?
Yes, sir.
So, Henry. So I was just like minding my own business because I just woke up, and then Henry called me, and then he said that he told me about this, and he's asking me if it's required or not.
If it's required. So I'd sent you guys a message on whether or not this is required. You will not get graded for this. However, I do want to mention, though, eventually you will have to come back to math class. So you're either going to learn this now or you're going to struggle to catch up with it later. So, no, it's not required, but should you be doing it? Yeah.
Okay. I'll probably join in a second. Hold on.
Okay. So, I'm going to skip past solving by completing the square because I just wanted to demonstrate that we could do the same problem with a different technique, but I think you guys get the point. So, here's the thing. I want to take this equation and I want to solve it one time, once and for all. That way I don't have to keep on doing this over and over and over again. So, I'm going to leave the A, B, and C in there. I'm not going to plug in numbers, and I'm going to solve it with the letters intact, with the variables there. And what that's going to give me is a formula that I can use all the time instead of using all of these other methods. So before I start on this, I want to let you guys know that this process right here is going to get complicated, and you don't have to do this. This is something that I'm going to do one time. That way you guys don't have to do it.
Is this something that we should take notes on or just watch?
This is something that you should watch. And then after this, when I actually get to the formula, then you should take notes on that. So, if I wanted to solve this one by pseudographing, just like last time, I want to get rid of that leading coefficient. So I'm going to divide everything here by a. So that's going to give me x squared plus b over ax plus c over a is equal to 0. Next, I want to find the axis of symmetry, which is x equals negative b over 2a. And this one's going to look ugly. It's going to be negative b over a over 2 times 1. But the weird thing is when I simplify that, you know what it turns into? It turns into negative b over 2a. So, just like last time, if I draw my parabola, that means that I know this line is negative b over 2a. I'm going to go ahead and plug that back in. So, negative b over 2a squared plus b over a times negative b over 2a plus c over a. Negative b squared would be positive b squared. 2a squared would be 4a squared. Plus b times negative b would be negative b squared over 2a squared plus c over a. Okay, does that look easy now? What I have here is 3 fractions that I want to add together, but we know that fractions can't be added unless they have common denominators. So if we look at these first 2 right here, I've got a 4a and a 2a squared. If I just multiply that by 2, they'll match up. So I'm just going to multiply this one by 2. That would turn into negative 2b squared over 4a squared. Now, in order for this one to work nicely, I would have to multiply it times 4 and a. So that means I would get plus 4ac over 4a squared. I'm going to bring this one down, b squared over 4a squared. And now if I put those together, these 2 right here are like terms. So I have b squared minus 2b squared would just be negative 1b squared plus 4ac over 4a squared. Every time we've done this, it's been a negative number. So what I'm going to do is factor a negative out right there. So what I get is negative b squared plus 4ac in parentheses like that over 4a squared. Okay, so that means that, hang on, I think I missed something. Let me just make sure. Okay. That means that over here, when I do this piece, this vertical piece right here is going to be, I need to go up b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared, which means the horizontal distance right there is going to be the square root of all of that. B squared minus 4ac over 4a squared.
Oh, thank you.
Now, if I take
Plus
this...
or minus negative b over 2a.
Right. So if I do that, now I want you to notice right there, 4a squared, I can actually take the square root of that. So the square root of 4a squared is 2a. So this is actually the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And then this is what I'm going to add or subtract to this. Negative b over 2a plus or minus. You guys notice those have common denominators? Since they have common denominators, I can put them together and I will get negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And at that point, I'm done. And so what I can do is I can use this formula here, and that's going to let me solve quadratic equations without having to worry about completing the square and without having to worry about pseudographing. So this is the part you should write down. The quadratic formula. So I'll say here, if we have to start off with the standard form equaling 0, if ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0, then x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a.
Believe me, I know that song by now.
Oh, you know that song?
I've had you for like 3 years.
Okay. Now, okay, so maybe you don't like my song. Okay, that's okay. We'll go away. Okay, let's try that again. X is equal to, does 2a hang low under negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac?
I remember that one too.
Okay, so as we look at this, you guys will notice we've done so much work with graphing. Do you guys see the formula for the axis of symmetry hidden in this formula?
Yes.
Okay, negative b over 2a, that's the axis of symmetry. And so what we have here is this extra piece that's new, and this is called the discriminant. Now, when you get into Algebra 2, you'll start using the discriminant more. And what it's used for is we'll start off with that, and if we solve the discriminant first, it'll let us know if we're going to have real solutions, complex solutions, or if we're going to have imaginary solutions. So let's actually use this formula to solve that exact same problem that we did. So 2x squared minus 10x minus 21 equals 0. So in this one, A is 2, B is negative 10, and C is negative 21. So now we'll just use our formula. And again, I'll write it down for the first time that we use it. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And now we're just going to start plugging stuff in. So x is equal to negative b would be positive 10 plus or minus the square root of negative 10 squared. By the way, biggest mistake that happens here is people who forget to put the b in parentheses. That will ruin the problem very quickly. Minus 4 times 2 times negative 21 all over 2 times 2. Okay, so any questions on how I plug stuff in? Nope, we're good. Okay, so like I said, I want to solve the, oh, hang on one moment. Sean is lost. I'm just going to send him a quick message. He is okay. Sorry about that. All right. So, like I said, I start off by solving the discriminant. So I'm just going to take this little piece over here, and I'm going to simplify that. So negative 10 squared is 100. Negative 4 times 2 is negative 8 times negative 21 would be, I'm going to cheat, negative 4 times 2 times negative 21 equals 168. Oh, I missed a negative in there, so it should be plus 168. 100 plus 168 is 268. And these were both inside a square root. So now what I need to know is, what is the square root of 268? So the square root of 268 is 16.37. So now that I've got that done, I'm going to put it back. X is equal to 10 plus or minus. The square root of 268 is 16.37 all over 4. Okay, let's put some more arrows in here. Okay, any questions about how I got here so far? Okay, so at this point, I can split that up into two problems. I've got x equals 10 plus 16.37 divided by 4, or x equals 10 minus 16.37 divided by 4. And then I can just type those into a calculator, or in my case, I'm going to type it off to the side. 10 plus 16.37 divided by 4 is equal to 6.592. Or, oh, and I bet I could cheat right over here. If I go over here and just change that plus into a minus, equals, boom, negative 1.592. And you see we get the exact same answer. Now, you might look at that and say, that is not necessarily easier than the technique we were using before. But keep in mind, I was talking through this whole thing. I was explaining it step by step. Just like all the other stuff we do, when I'm not talking about this, this goes much, much quicker. So before I move on, is there any part of this that you don't understand? Any number that you don't understand where it came from? No? Okay, so just like in class, go ahead and take your notes. And I've got 2 problems here. Try to follow along with that same process. And I'm going to go ahead and set a timer for, let's give you guys 2 minutes.
That first problem is the one that we just did.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Ha! Well, don't do that. I just did that. Hi, so I just saw Henry make a comment. Is this required to watch? And I answered this earlier. No, this is not required to watch. However, this material is required for Algebra 1. And so you can learn this now or you can try to catch up with it later. I would recommend doing it now.
Wait, hold on. I lost the question. Let me put it back again.
I'm gonna start putting notes.
We're no strangers to love. You know the rules, and so do I. I've full commitment's what I'm thinking of. You wouldn't get this from any other guy. I just wanna tell you how I'm feeling. Gotta make you understand. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make you cry. Never gonna say goodbye. Never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. We've known each other for so long. Your heart's been aching, but you're too shy to say it. Inside, we both know what's been going on. We know the game and we're gonna play it. And if you ask me how I'm feeling, don't tell me you're too blind to see. Never gonna give you up. Never gonna let you down. Never gonna run around and desert you. Never gonna make.
All right. Can you tell I missed you guys? All right. I'm going to get this started because I want to make sure that everyone got the first steps correct. So A is 5, B is negative 11, and C is negative 23. In this case, there's no x, so it would actually be n is equal to does 2a hang low under negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac. That is going to translate into n is equal to negative 5 plus or minus, nope, I messed up. Positive 11 plus or minus the square root of negative 11 squared minus 4 times 5 times negative 23. All over 2 times 5. Okay. Any questions about the setup? Nope. Okay, moving on. So, just like last time, I'm going to take the discriminant. I'm going to solve that. I know 11 squared is, I don't need that. 11 squared is 121. Minus 4 times 5 times 23. Again, I could probably do that in my head, but negative 4 times 5 times negative 23 is equal to 460. So 121 plus 460 is 581. And remember, these are inside square roots. So now, right here, what is the square root of 581? 24.103. So we'll just reduce that to 24.1. So I'm going to put it back. 11 plus or minus 24.1 over 2 times 5 is 10. Now I can split that up into 11 plus 24.1 over 10 and 11 minus 24.1 over 10. Then again, using my calculator, 11 plus 24.1 divided by 10 is equal to 3.51. Or, let's go back, and I'll just make that a subtraction. Negative 1.31. Oops, not x equals. N equals 3.51 or negative 1.31, and we're done. Okay.
When I do the square root of 581, it doesn't give me 24.1. It just gives me the square root of 581.
Are you using the same calculator we use at school?
Yeah.
Okay, so right above the equals button, there is this button right here with 2 arrows, and that will convert it into a decimal for you.
Thank you.
Okay, now if we were in class, we would probably do about 10 more of these, but we're not in class, and I imagine you guys have other stuff you want to get to. Is there any questions before we wrap this up? No? Okay, so I know some of you guys joined us late. I am going to post this to the Google Classroom. Everything that we've done here has been recorded. So, and if I went too fast and you need to see it again, you'll be able to go onto the Google Classroom and rewind it and go back over the notes. There's also a worksheet on Google Classroom if you want to download that and do some practice with it. There's a lot of practice there. Of course, the question keeps coming up, is this required? No, this is practice. Practice it until you have it down. This is a skill that is going to go all the way through Algebra 2, pre-calculus, and calculus. So if there's one thing you learn this year, you want to learn this skill better than anything else. Yeah, Philip just said it's a lot simpler than I thought. Yes, it really, really is. Someone just asked, how often are we going to have these live videos? I'm going to do this every Tuesday at 9 o'clock for Algebra 1B. How long is this going to be? I'm going to keep going until you guys stop asking me questions. Does Henry have anything else he wants to say? Hey, Jeremy's here. Hi, Jeremy. Okay, that's it from me. So thank you for coming in today, and let me know if you have any questions, and I'll see if I can help you out. And let's see. There's my puppies. There's Rick Astley. And there's me. Oh, I have a light too. All right, that's it. We're done for today. Thanks for coming, guys.